What's going on, YouTube? A-Train here, bringing you, I think what we're going to title this is a CDL talk. Basically, it's just going to be my perspective of the Call of Duty League from everything that I've seen or kept up with. I'm an avid follower of the Call of Duty League, and anybody that knows me knows that I follow Optic Chicago. I haven't ridden with Optic for a long time, but I do respect the entire league. You know, I watch as many matches as I can. I watch as many scrims for the teams that do stream them, but as of late, nobody's been streaming them. But you know, I try to stay in the loop, follow all the news on Twitter, you know, Reddit too for the most part. But I want to bring this probably after every major event, possibly after the week matches. It kind of just depends on what's going on my side of things. I know the league matches are coming up soon, but I wanted to go over my thoughts on stage 2, and then I wanted to go over my thoughts on the major of stage 2, and then I wanted to go over the stage 3 groups and just give you my thoughts and my opinions on what went down, you know, how the teams are stacking up, how everything's looking, any, you know, roster changes that are going on. I want this to be a series that does pop up often because I do follow the Call of Duty League so much, and I do really enjoy talking about it, but I really don't have, I have a decent amount of people to talk to it about, but I've never really like voiced my opinion out there to a whole lot of people. So I'm really excited, anxious to talk about it and see what everybody else has to think about it. So what we're going to talk about first, and I have basically, I'm going to be pulling up, you know, the schedule for the major 2, the major tournament 2, and I'll be popping it up on the screen so you can check it out with me and basically, you know, see what I'm talking about. But we'll go ahead and start there. We'll start with major 2. And you know, I've followed Toronto. I do know Toronto, the Ultra, of course. They did win major 2, and I know that they are all playing out of Toronto. That's like the biggest thing that a lot of people were talking about. They were the Texas killers, if you will, because they were basically taking out all the teams that were, you know, 5-stack or 4-stacked in Texas, but they were playing themselves in Toronto. You know, I think they just came out with a different kind of fire. You know, I know that Bance was talking about possibly retiring. I know that was like a big thing that, you know, he had posted a text message talking to his girlfriend, I believe, talking about possibly retiring because of how bad he was playing. And I know that they got a lot of backlash for, you know, benching methods. Of course, that was the big, one of the big, you know, points going into the major was how Ultra was going to look going into it amongst some other teams. But they came out with some fire, man. They came out and really turned heads, you know, from the opening week on that that Thursday. They, you know, 3-1 Chicago. And, you know, we're looking at it from my point of view, and I'm like, man, you know, was it a fluke? Was it not? We didn't really know coming into it because we've seen Optic coming a little slow, you know, have issues, rotation issues, maybe comm issues. Not really too sure what it was, but we have seen some issues arise from those guys. But Toronto did come out and take a 3-1. Then we also saw them lose 3-1 pretty convincingly to FaZe. So it's, can you call it a fluke game? Can you not? Because going into it, Atlanta, of course, was the best team in the game. You know, that they were the standard for Call of Duty. And, you know, so Ultra beating a Chicago team that was kind of, you know, here and there, hit or miss. But then going into it against FaZe and really getting manhandled for the most part. But then it came full circle because they came around and they 3-1 Minnesota, they 3-1 Dallas, and then they 5-3 won the whole tournament against FaZe. So, and really it was dominant. You know, FaZe did struggle in the S&Ds, and you know, it was just something that a lot of people didn't expect. I didn't expect it, of course. You know, part of me was expecting FaZe to win again. I could also see, you know, Dallas coming out of nowhere and possibly sneaking this one because we know that Dallas is capable of winning champs. You know, they're you know, the defending champions right now. But, you know, you got to give it to Ultra. You got to tip the hat. Some of the teams that I do want to talk about that made changes. You know, we had the LA Thieves. They came out smoking. You know, off the rip. I mean, they played Paris game one, but they really came out with fire. You know, LA Thieves was hitting on all cylinders. The comms looked nice. You know, they were honeymooning. You know, possibly. You know, when they played Paris and then London. You know, London was another team that came into the major hot, but LA Thieves came in and they, you know, put them down 3-2. And then we got them 3-0 NY. I think that was the big head turner right there. Was when they 3-0'd NY. It was like, okay, because NY had been looking good. They got the weird draw, right? So they lost to Dallas 3-0, and then they go to play LA Thieves and they get 3-0'd again. So it's kind of like, okay, well, you know, that's a tough draw. You know, it's a tough draw to play Dallas first round, you know, being in winners, but to get 3-0'd by LA Thieves, mind you, brand new roster. Uh, really, I think they said they only had a couple days of scrims, and you know they came out and they were win 3 matches. You know that's well above what I know a lot of people thought. And yeah, they were definitely a surprise along with the Ultra winning the whole thing. So my surprises from this, LAG, they're another ones that you don't really know what's gonna happen with them. You know, they can pop up, they're hit or miss. You know, you don't really know what's gonna go on with those guys. You don't know how they're gonna be clicking on that day, and they just weren't clicking. You know, against Florida. Florida had their number, and they went down 3-0. But we already talked about Paris going down 3-0, and they obviously made a change recently, temp for fire. So we're gonna see how they gel. Also, we got the new meta, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Going and talking about stage 3 groups. You know, talking about Optic Chicago, they come out with the 3-1 loss to Toronto. The games were close, but they just couldn't pull it out. And then they go into Seattle, stop a really hot Seattle. Gunless has been playing out of his mind. Perstini has been playing out of his mind as well. But you know, they pull it out, and you think, okay, no, they're getting it, they're clicking. You know, then they run into Minnesota Rocker. You know, and that was the craziest game I think I have ever witnessed. You know, it just the unfortunate circumstance for Chicago, but the luck and the win for the Rocker. You know, the Rocker have turned it around and they looked really, really good going into the major. Obviously they beat Chicago with that, you know, with the new roster when Standy had just joined, and they were coming in hot. You know, they came in and, you know, lost 3-2 to Dallas, but came out and they you know, every match was close. You know, every map is what I'm trying to say for Chicago and Minnesota was close, but you know, what can you do? It is just one of those things that happens. The timings worked out the way they did, and you know, Minnesota got the win, and they actually went on to play Toronto, which again, Toronto was just the final boss of this tournament. You know, and it's crazy because you think of Atlanta running through teams and really looking dominant, and you saw, and I know a lot of the desk has been talking about it, you know, you saw the cracks of the armor, you know, but I just think with somebody like Arcides that can bring a team together, you know, I think that they'll be okay. They'll definitely be okay going into stage 3. I'm not really worried about them at all. Well, from an optic side of it, I am worried about it because, you know, Atlanta can bounce back and they're going to be better. You know, they're going to do what they need to do. They're going to work and get better. From firsthand watching Arcides, you know, rally the troops last year in MW. So they're going to come back hungry, you know. So I really, if I was a FaZe fan, I'm not worried about it. But that basically is how stage 2 went. The stage 2 major, you know, we got the Toronto Ultra on top. The next thing I want to talk about is the stage 3 groups. So they came out with the stage 3 groups, the Call of Duty League Twitter at COD League. You can go check those guys out on Twitter. And so we got Group A sitting at the Toronto Ultra, Dallas Empire, Minnesota Rocker, Florida Mutineers, Paris Legion, and the LA Gorillas. So that's Group A. Looking pretty nice. You know, we got the we got Paris with the new lineup, the fire for temp. So we're gonna see how that goes. I don't think anybody else has made a change. Mutineers actually bringing back Havoc. That is right. They actually brought Havoc back for Slack. So that's gonna be interesting to see what Havoc brings back, man. Because Cold Havoc is somebody that is all over the place. He does what he needs to do. That's Route Man right there. So it's gonna be interesting to see what he brings to that team. Also in Group A, we're gonna see if Toronto can keep it going. Because they got that. It's gonna be a tough group. All around, depending on what LA Gorillas pops up and depending on what Paris Legion, if they can gel together with Temp. We're going to see, what happens in that group. And then Group B, what we can go ahead and call it as a group of death out of these two for sure. So you got Atlanta FaZe, you got Optic Chicago, LA Thieves, New York Subliners, Seattle Surge, and the London Royal Ravens. So, instantly you see FaZe Chicago, and then Thieves. You also have Subliners. Subliners are, I believe, I don't know if they made the move yet. I know they were trying to get Sib, but I don't think it went through. But I think it's still going to be Clay, Asim, Diamond Con, and I believe they picked up, or Hydra's going to go ahead and come in for Mac. That was the last thing that I heard. Of course, nothing I don't think was set in stone for them. My Twitter's actually down right now, so I'm not able to see. You go back and look. But that's going to be interesting. Those top 4 teams right there. And then you have the hot Seattle Surge going into Major 2. They were looking hot, with Pristini and Gunless. And then you have the London Royal Ravens, which they weren't looking too bad, honestly, going into Major 2 as well. So Group B is going to be tough. I think every week each team is going to have to show up and play. They're going to have to put in the work and fix what they have to fix across the board. Every team has something they need to fix. Nobody's perfect at this point. We thought FaZe was, and FaZe showed us that they did have some cracks in the armor. So, we're going to see what team shows up for FaZe and for Optic and for Thieves. For, everybody in Group B has something to prove. So we're going to see, what happens with those guys. The next thing is the meta change, because for Major 2, they were still playing on the old patch. We did see a meta change go into play for Stage 3. So what the meta change is, not too sure. I haven't really seen a lot of scrims. My scrim knowledge came from Optic Chicago, and they haven't been streaming scrims for a while now. So I haven't really got to see anything. I don't know what people are using. I haven't heard of anything people are talking about. I've kind of hit or miss heard Milano. I'm sure the AK-74U is still, going to be in there, the rotation. Krieg, QBZ, I'm assuming. So we'll see what happens, though. We'll see if it plays more towards Krieg's versus QBZ, and if the Milano does make an appearance. And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up episode 1 of the CDL Talk. I do want to try to think of a better name for it, so if y'all have any suggestions, any comments, go ahead and leave them down below. I hope to catch you on the next one. Drop a like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one. Later.